if each coach had 1 million to 2 million insurance backup for lawyers, there will be less problems. There will be less problems because no, he's covered. He's got his backside covered. If you want to go that way, then that's fine. But he's all right. He's packed, right? He's got it ready. And it's an investment in themselves, and it's an investment in a sense into swimming because you're going, hey, hopefully we don't have these young coaches saying they're not going to coach because it's a threat. You're going, no, they're going to stay. No, we're not going to keep everybody. We know that, but at least we could say we made it better. I had a big conversation yesterday with Rob Barrett, the head of the Coaches Association for BC. And I told him that we need to move on this. He's still got to move the board. I said, you're in a position now with the information I've got. You can't not do anything now. The stuff I got last week from the government that insurance companies have to give you the information. I said, now that I've got that and you know about it, now we have to tell the membership that, what we've done. I said, we're at that level now. We can either go in collectively or we have to tell the coaches now that there's a chance they are not insured. Rod's always been very good. He's always been passionate about what we do as an association. And in fact, the new lady that Swim BC hired as a technical director, she swam at the Olympics. She's out of Vernon after I left. But when Mark, that's in Kelowna now, was coaching. And she actually said, why do you still have an association? Like, what's your role? And he actually had a good chat to her. And he said, hey, we're making sure that all the coaches are safe and that we can support them as much as we can. And we're the only association left in swimming. And Swim Canada has got rid of all the others. And you could tell, I could tell just by what he was saying, she was saying, Swim Canada and Swim BC have probably had a chat to her before, after she got the job. Of course, then she puts a different cap on, like a USA swimming cap, not a swim cap type thing. And he made a good case for it. He said, like this would have never happened. This would have never happened if we hadn't had this association. And some of the other provinces now are actually saying, hey, maybe they have to readjust. I've got some stuff to do with the insurance companies. One, I've got to fill in a huge form. All I'm trying to do at the moment is get 3 prices on paper. Then that will not let me step out of it. It will just say, there's your options, right? The one that's saying that they'll give us a 50% cut because their year is different, to me personally, is quite tempting, just to get it going. And yesterday, me and Rod's, we sat down and we said, what do you think, Barry? I go 325 or whatever Mike's got in Calgary. To me, looks like a hell of a deal. It's whether they're going to make us be members of that association, that would add some costs. But then it leads to other battles. It leads to, what have we been paying Swim Canada for? What have we been paying Swim BC for, right? And try to get a price on that. And I go, okay, we'd like to pull that out, right? Or move it. Or I said to Rod yesterday, I said, maybe we have to start looking at, everybody that becomes a member of the BC Swimming Coaches Association pays more. And maybe we start to do some fundraising for it and sort of say, hey, we'll support you with this much. There's lots of options out there, but Rod agrees with me and Mike agrees with me that, that's just 1 hour sitting down with a lawyer for the whole year. It is nothing. And Rod has already done a deal with all the people that had been taken to task by Swim BC this year, that they, all the guys that won. Not going to mention their name, not going to mention what club, but they are going to put out, this is a scenario that actually happened. That this, and they've all agreed to do that. That unfortunately, the guy that spent the 40 can't get any insurance back from this, but it'll help us promote. These are the scenarios that are out there, and the scenarios are changing, and that all that crap that we haven't seen yet. And I'm using the word lightly about crap. All the stuff that's going to come down from Sport Canada, it's going to probably, I haven't thought about it, but I'm going to say it will increase our risk factors maybe 25 to 50%. I think I might be wrong on that, Mark, but you know, there's going to be those things that'll never happen to me. That'll never happen to me. And we talked about it yesterday. I said, it's like a car insurance. Oh, that'll never happen to me. I'll get the cheap version. Go, yeah. And then some idiot hits your car when you drive off with a new car off the lot. That does happen. Right. It's the same thing. But I think there's an opportunity here, because part of the conversation yesterday is, like we said, where does insurance fit? I go, well, it's peace of mind. It's peace of mind that maybe, because we got a lot of coaches saying, I'm not going to do it anymore. And most of them are quitting, not because they don't love kids, not that they don't mind the long hours and the weekends away. They are quitting or walking away before we've got the next group ready, right? That's a different issue. The young coaches are not ready to step up into those big roles, is because the risk factor is getting too stressed. What Rod is hearing, that most of the stuff that's going on in Swim Canada is coming down and blaming the coaches. That's what he's reading into it. But most of the coaches are trying to protect themselves with what little support they have, right? They're going on to deck angry. They're going on to deck tired. They're going on to the deck already stressed. Am I making the right decision? So I think there's a great opportunity there for both associations, ISCA, to put this as a major part of education and on health. This is what you need to do. Like all the things that we're seeing pop up from Sport Canada and say, what you've got to take care of yourself, right? They're trying to, in a sense, pass the buck down. Well, what did you give them? Oh, we give them information that they need to take rest days and they need to do this and they need to do that. And then mental health is as important as that physical health, right? They're doing all that stuff, and it's all over the world. Well, I don't think he took that course on mental health. But on this side, we can go, these are the practical things that you need to do. And Rod was saying that maybe we need a conversation with all the professional coaches in BC and just, maybe do a thing like we did with that insurance person. This is why you need these things. And maybe we go over each item with a scenario. And so that they look at it, because that would be a great way of protecting them. Whether they pay the $325 or don't, that's a risk factor, right? But like I said to Rod yesterday, I said, we might have 50% say, I don't need it. It'll never happen to me. But then if we've got these scenarios and got these stories, this is why we've had to take it a little bit further. This is what's happened, not what might happen. It's all right, I suppose, that we say that these coaches won their cases in a sense, but there was really no settlement. Nobody could pay them the bills for them. They had to do it on their own. But that wasn't a stress just to the coach. That was a stress to his family, his friends, to the organization, right? All those follows on. You can't put a price on that. It's like, it's priceless in a sense. And the damage is huge. Damage is huge, both physically, mentally, and financial. and to the coaches association and to the sport generally. Because all of a sudden, the parent that's thinking of going in swimming's reading these 4 articles, "Well, I don't wanna be involved in that." It's the same as what I see coming to me, that kids that were in hockey, that their parents finally pull them from hockey because of the hostile atmosphere at the games and the hostile atmosphere by the parents. And I get talked every week and going, we loved the hockey. The kids did very well at it, but the atmosphere and, the violence and everything else is not the message they want to send to their kids. And I got that from James, the guy I put on the Canadian team. His parent pulled him because he didn't like the politics and he didn't like, I have to jump through all these hoops to even get looked at. So it is stress. I think it could be a great one. What do you think?
The more we document as far as maybe putting it into the course so that it's preserved and we can add to it and expand upon it and add more lessons or and keep it organized, then we're going to start uh, using like they're almost like little beads or pearls that we need to string together to make this greater story resonate.
Yeah.
So that b- it's great, you were having conversations, but then we need to, really start tying all this together.
Yeah.
Hey,
Great.
and then the other thing I worry about a little bit is let's say we come up with a couple decisions or a couple avenues that seem pretty obvious to, the inner circle or the people that have been around, but how do we reach out to the masses? How many Canadian coaches are there? There's
1,000.
thousands. So we
Multiple thousands.
we better start working. What is that? All just swimming coaches or just
No, that will be everybody, but, we probably have I can start checking on that. I bet you we have a minimum of 3,000 professional swimming coaches, minimum, and it's probably higher than that. Like some of the clubs here, whether they are part-time or full-time, some clubs have 20 coaches, 30 coaches. Some of the budgets now for the clubs, we probably have, I'm gonna say 5 have budgets over $1,000,000 a year. So it's big business, or it is business. Some of the memberships are between 500 and 1,000 members now. That's totally different than when you and I started. That would have been multiple clubs to even get even close to that, right?
we better have avenues or ways to do that in-house politics to make sure that all the coaches around the country, around a province are able to be reached and they know that this is happening. And maybe there's just an awareness right now, or can you sign up for this little list?
Well, I think that's a brilliant idea. It's in the bin in the back of my head, and that conversation with Rod. I don't want to keep leading. I don't mind kicking doors in. I love kicking doors in if it's going to help the sport and the profession. We're both giving something back here, but we're also trying to protect the next coaches. Because when I got into it and when you got into it, it wasn't like this. We are now under different rules, everything from health to education, all the way through. We're under threat from, maybe with the sports got very, very expensive. You heard me talk about this before, is that we used to deal with working class and low income because swimming was, I need a pair of goggles and a swimsuit, and up and down, right? Now we're into this. Write the check for 5,000 and you need a $20,000 budget once you get to here for travel. So that group of parents, totally different. Totally different. I'm sorry. I'll just get my lawyer to phone you this afternoon. Is that all right? That it's totally different, but the the threats are bigger. I don't make my decisions about who has money and who doesn't. I make sure the kids at the bottom end that the club thinks about. We got kids that can't afford that. How we're going to deal with that? That's their issue. Right? That's their issue. I can bring sponsors on side to help, but every coach does that. And I'm not interested solely on whether I put kids on the Canadian team. It's a matter, I need to keep them in the sport as far as I can so they have the opportunity to go as far as they can. And it will be down to the parent and the coaches that are around outside my system if they take an interest in that child. And if we give them a good foundation, if we give them all the education, and that is the same for the coaches. Hey, you need to know what you're getting into. What about doing a joint venture on coaching education on insurance? It has to be done. It has to be done. And even to the point that somebody up the line in our system will have to say, this should be compulsory. This should be compulsory. And I got that from those first letters when I started asking, well, is there any national programs offering insurance? Is there any, PSOs? And the answer I got from those first few emails was, we haven't got all that data, Barry. We don't know. But on the other side, we go, hey, this is important. Right? And it's as important as maybe having a health benefit.
I
They are.
I
We
agree
don't
the
have.
joint venture approach makes good sense, and let them know they can, supply a speaker or two, you bring a speaker or two. We have the framework with regards to the infrastructure, but I think we do need to start getting names and emails so that we can stay in touch, because there will come a point where they're going to say, no, Barry, you don't have access to us anymore because you're going east and we want to stay here or go west. And it'll be hard to find everybody. But right now you're not that threatening, and it's not uh, a big deal. So let's try to get that momentum going with having a bigger group of people to reach out to. And I know your network is pretty extensive, that I think, finding all those 5,000 or all those coaches is going to be very hard to do.
So everybody's called now to fill out the form. Here at the Heavy or Not website, there's a brand new form. Add your name, your email, your phone, your team name, and your feelings about insurance needs on the form. It's at HON for heavy or not .lap.red. Please check in with us and let's continue this conversation.